All right, so I was a public science teacher as well in the elementary school for the past 10 years. And I met 5-year-old Jeffrey in the lunch line for the first time. The advertised lunch that day was spaghetti and meatballs. Only our cafeteria lady was subcontracted by like a third-party corporation, and she had this notorious reputation for like stretching $1. So instead of meatballs that day, it was leftover breakfast sausage. And instead of spaghetti, it was old macaroni. I remember thinking, what the hell is this shit? And why don't I start making my own lunch like a goddamn adult? And all of a sudden, I see Jeffrey, and he's right in front of me. He looks up at the lunch line, and he says, "Hey, what the hell is this shit?" And he proceeds to curse that lunch lady up and down with every curse known to kindergarten. And so like I kind of stand there for a minute, like acting kind of flabbergasted long enough to let him finish because it needed to be said. And he finishes his tirade by shitting in his pants. So, Jeffrey is my favorite. And not because he shit in his pants in the lunch line, but because we never had to eat old breakfast sausage and old macaroni for lunch ever again. So later that year, I was invited to take a group of students to the White House to meet the First Lady. And this was a really exciting opportunity for me. Because I had just earlier that year won like a National Science Teacher of the Year award, and in my district, they had completely cut my salary for next year. So like if I can go up to the White House and bring a couple of kids and like I taught them computer programming and how to build robots, look, maybe I can save my job. But the administrators of my school tell me we're not handpicking the children, we'll be picking them by random lottery. So whose name got pulled in the random lottery? Yay! Fucking Jeffrey. Look, I don't know if you figured this out about Jeffrey yet or not, but he hasn't mastered computer programming. He hasn't mastered the toilet. I love this little kid. He was my buddy, and I looked out for him. But he's not our show pony. But he had won his golden ticket fair and square. But I wanted to deny it from him. I wanted to take it away from him because this is my job, and I'm an asshole. But the administration says it stands. And so the morning we're leaving to get on the bus to go to the White House, and I said to Jeffrey, "Okay, buddy, listen, buddy, you gotta be on your best behavior today." And just then, the administrators roll in, and they say, "Okay, everybody, we got today's snacks." And it's a cooler full of red juice barrels. Do you remember the juice barrel? It's like the crack cocaine to the juice box. Sold in the appropriate hand grenade format. And this is what we're giving to Jeffrey on the way to the White House. So the bus pulls up to the White House and we get up, and Jeffrey climbs the fence in the gates right in front of the White House. And so we get inside and they tell us, "Well, Mrs. Obama is going to meet with you, but she's with some other guests right now. You guys can go out and wait on the line." We go out and wait on the line. Jeffrey takes a run through the sprinklers on the White House lawn. And then we're asked to leave the White House lawn because there's a suspicious package in front of the White House. And as we're being escorted out, I squint and realize it is a cooler full of red juice barrels. And so this kind of goes on, and we're there for quite some time. They tell us it's going to take a little bit longer. Mrs. Obama is meeting with a group of astronauts, so you're going to have to wait a little bit longer. This is was another big opportunity. And Jeffrey comes up to me and says, Mr. Pittman, I'm hot and I'm bored and I want to meet Mrs. Obama. And I think to myself, Jeffrey, shut up. You're ruining the entire day for me. But I'm a little bit convicted because I also realized, like, we took this kid and we sugared him up and then we asked him to wait and wait and wait and wait for hours and hours, and then all of a sudden I realized I have been thinking about this far too long because now Jeffrey is missing! And Jeffrey sees things only in black and white. To him, things are right and wrong. He has a solemn commitment to justice, and he solves these problems with his behind. And I hear this commotion down the hall, and I rush and I push open a door that's already a bit cracked open. I look, and it is a White House staff meeting. And underneath the table is Jeffrey, making his protest. And so Jeffrey has to leave, and I realize I can send him off with a chaperone or something like that, because I want to stay, and I want to meet these astronauts, and I want to meet the First Lady, and I want to tell them what a great teacher I am. Or I could just leave with Jeffrey and actually be a good teacher for Jeffrey. And I did. And we left with an aide, and she got him cleaned up, and we had to sit for a few hours in the fountains across the street from the White House. And Jeffrey comes up to me and says, Mr. Pittman, do you want to play in the fountain? And I said, sure, Jeffrey, because I'm getting fired from my job anyways. And we played in the fountain, and we actually had a great time. And Jeffrey looked at me, and he said, Mr. Pittman, I wish every day of school could be like this. And I said, Jeffrey, I wish you would stop pooping in your pants. But yeah, buddy, me too.